So problem 9 asks us to determine the payback period. Okay, so we have to do two things in order to determine the payback period. We first have to calculate the project's initial cost, or the first cash outflow. For example, here in problem 8, we have an initial cash outflow followed by a series of cash inflows. For problem 9, we have to determine our initial cash outflow. So let's look further into the problem. We know that we have positive cash inflows each year of $60,000. They happen at the end of each year and for 5 periods. We are given the net present value and our weighted average cost of capital. So first we have to determine the project's cost in order to calculate the payback period. So what relationship does cost, present value, and net present value have? I want you to remember this formula for the exam. The net present value is the present value minus the cost. Okay, so the difference between present value and net present value is the cost. So if we calculate present value, we will be able to determine cost because we're already given our net present value in the problem. Okay, so let's find the present value of all of our cash inflows. So net present value takes into consideration the cost. Here we don't have cost. We're trying to determine the cost. So we just need to find the present value of all of our cash inflows. We can do this by using our cash, not our cash register, Lord have mercy. We can do this by using our calculator's cash register function. So what we're going to do is initiate our cash flow function, okay? And we're going to clear out any of our previous work by doing second clear. All right, so once we do that, we can start inputting our cash inflows. Remember, we don't have cash flow at 0. We're trying to find that. But for this, we need to find our present value of all of our cash inflows. So our first payment is $60,000. Okay, the frequency of which is 5. Okay, so now we can compute. We hit the NPV button. All right, mind you, it's not going to give us NPV. It's going to give us the present value because the NPV would take into consideration cash flow 0, and we don't have one. So for our interest, we're going to use our WACC of 10 and compute the present value. This is what we're given as the present value. So we take that number and start filling in this formula. Okay, so we have our present value of our cash flows. We're given our net present value. Okay. Okay. So now we can determine cost by rearranging this formula. Okay. So if we take this, move it to the other side of the equal sign, we would get this. Okay. So I rearranged this shit and it looks a hot ass mess because I messed up here, but you get the point. Rearrange the problem to solve for your costs. So this is about halfway through. I'm gonna show you what it looks like once I get rid of this minus sign. And if I get rid of this minus sign here, if I make that positive, I have to go back and change all of these to the opposite. So this is gonna be negative, this is gonna be positive. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. It looks like this, okay? So we have our present value minus our net present value equals our cost. So if I take this, subtract this, it's going to give me that cost. I determined that my cost is $152,447.20. Now I can calculate my payback. I know that each year I get 60K, okay, for 5 years. How many 60Ks does it take to get to $152,447.20? So let's divide that by 60,000. 2.54 periods. That corresponds directly with answer choice B.